Hey everyone, welcome back with a Beano Mac. Today we've got a very long one, probably one of our longest videos I think on this entire channel. I think maybe only my playthroughs of like Resident Evil 2, the original, are longer than this. Check those out if you want to. Good content there as well. No commentary though, but just raw speedrun playthroughs of getting the best rank in Resident Evil 2. If you're wondering, hey, we're wasting time here, don't worry, we got 2.5 hours worth of, talking to get through here. So, as you can see, we're doing the Legends Challenges. Of course, this is going to be our last video of the playthroughs of Smackdown Raw 2006. I thought about doing GM mode as well. I just couldn't figure out, I was trying to think to myself, okay, what's the best way of actually doing this? Because I don't, this is just match to match and stuff like that. I don't really like wasting, people's time with, that kind of stuff. So I'm not really sure. I could do, a playthrough of GM mode and stuff like that, no problem. The thing is, I'm not even sure how many people would be interested in seeing that. So if people do want to see a playthrough of GM mode, it's probably not going to be right away. But, if I do hear enough about it, I'll do it at some point, and this is my favorite game to do GM mode 2006. There's a lot more creative freedom simply due to they put a lot of constraints to kind of give more of the mode an identity and a little bit more realism in the next set of games. And that was actually pretty cool there. But I don't know, like this one, like for rivalries, for example, I love how just simple it is. All you gotta do is set up a one-on-one match, or start the rivalry program. There's no storylines you gotta put them through or anything like that. It's only one-on-one storylines, and you can mix and match them in this game as well. And as long as they're in the same match, that's all that matters. They can be on tag teams, they could be together. They can be on tag teams against each other. You can have 3 rivalries on one thing. I feel like in 2007. Like, if they weren't facing each other actively, you want to be able to, would just kind of erase the rivalry. There'd be no warning. Another thing is sometimes it would glitch out, I feel like, and even if they were facing each other, it would still kind of glitch out and just randomly cancel the rivalry. On top of that, obviously you have to have it fit in the mold of a storyline. The stars in 2007 would determine like how long the rivalry would last, if it was any good as well. Whereas in 2006, it kind of just all mattered about the popularity level of who was involved. And there was another point I was going to make about the rivalries as well. Oh, and the clean and dirty mechanics. I mean, you didn't have to worry about it in this game either, and I loved to do it, my little hack for rivalries is I would usually have a tag team just have a one-on-one or, feud with each other, and then, I could have them, like, feud with whoever the heck, I wanted, and it would be awesome, like, if I wanted Kane and Big Show as a team, they would feud, and I would have Jericho and Benoit, and they would feud. Carlito, Chris Masters, they would feud. Batista and Ray, they would feud. And obviously, since they're in the rivalries, you just have them face each other all the time and stuff like that. And, it obviously gave you some pretty good matches, with high popularity superstars and stuff like that. And obviously, as the rivalries got better, the better the matches did and all that other stuff. So that's a little hack for you if you didn't know. For Smackdown vs. Raw 2006 in particular, for rivalries and stuff like that. But like I said, I'm probably not likely to do it. Once again, if people want it, sound off below in the comments. If I get enough support with it, I'll do it. But I'm not just gonna do it if like maybe 1 or 2 people want to see it, if I'm being honest. So if you do really want to see that, make yourself heard. Holla if you hear me, as they say. But yeah, we got 15 challenges here. This is the first one, the Iron Man match, and I thought about speeding through this, doing 2 times speed, but whatever. I mean, it's save me 10 minutes or something like that. I hate Iron Man matches in these games. I've been very vocal about that. It's not as bad as it used to be. And like SmackDown 2, if you had an Iron Man match in season mode, I mean, you had 30 minutes. I don't know what the hell they were thinking in that game. If you had an Iron Man match in season, you were literally just wasting your time. Because, I mean, like, you could probably get, like, 3 wins in, like, 5 minutes already straight from the jump. So, they were on crack when they made that stipulation. It should always, if you're gonna have people do Iron Man matches in these games, it should always be 10 minutes. I don't care if it's a legend difficulty or not. I feel like the average person is going to be able to, be able to get a good amount of falls within 10 minutes. But we'll see what happens with this match. It's already been about 5 minutes, and nobody's even really gotten close yet. But I don't know. I think No Mercy did it best with 10 minutes if he had to do it, and only had, like, I think 1, maybe 2 Iron Man matches. But you'll find out pretty quickly. Obviously, since it's Legend Challenges, it has to be on Legend difficulty. You're going to find out pretty quickly. They don't really mess with you that much on at the beginning of the matches, usually the AI. But then once it gets to the point where they're going to lose, it's just reverse, fast. It's reverse-a-palooza for them, That's when they're reversing all your finishers. They're reversing any sort of grapple that you can throw at them. It's just kind of like, it's something that feels like it's dragging the pace of the match out more than anything, which we're in an Iron Man match, so that doesn't really matter in this one. And as you can see, you can still get amateur challenges, and we're going to get some, I can't remember Rising Star challenges is like the normal difficulty one, so you're going to see that quite often in this video, because if you can't reverse 10 strikes and you can't reverse 10 grapples, I mean, you're not winning a match against somebody on Legend. Some hacks you can do to make this mode a little bit easier for you that I've done for myself is turn off count out, turn off DQ, and just for convenience, I turned off all the entrances and stuff like that, because if this video would probably be 10 minutes longer, maybe 15 minutes longer just from entrances alone. But if you do that in the in-game options for the match rules, it carries over to challenges in this thing, even if you do direct challenges. So weapons, they make all the difference in the world sometimes, especially if you're a dirty superstar. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a free win, because they still reverse you like every other hit, but trust me, it's a massive help. And I could probably do this fair, and I was thinking of doing like individual videos for these challenges and upload them one at a time or whatever. And I just thought, I think that if one of these superstars successfully let's get it all out in one video and stuff like that. Because I probably could do it, but it'd be very frustrating, and I don't know. I just feel that people would might as well just get them over and with in one video and stuff like that. Plus, I mean, it would just kind of take up a lot of time and stuff like that with individual challenges, uploading them weekly and stuff like that. So, I mean, I probably could do it a few a week, but I don't know. It's not out of the question. Maybe I will do that and see how they stack up compared to this video right here, because this one's gonna have commentary. If I do upload them separate, I mean, I already did them, but it might give me some more views if I just do them separate challenges, because I don't really see people do that on this for some reason.
What are you talking about? This is some classic old school wrestling here. Feel like a real jerk.
But those would also have no commentary, because I kind of like to preserve the integrity of some things. I was complaining about this, I think, last video, about how like they have like a lot of weird like match types and match stipulations, like the 6-man battle royal match, for example. Obviously you had to be confined to the ring, despite the fact in other 6-man matches you can go outside the ring, use weapons, all this or that. I don't know why they made it like that, but yeah, I think they should have definitely made it in this game where you have like a match type where you go out the ring like that in a 6-man battle royal, or a battle royal of any kind, really. Just because I think I was thinking about that 6-man battle royal with all the ECW guys in the One Night Stand arena. Man, that would have been so much better, so much accurate, so much more fun if they had it to where you could use weapons in that. Plus, I mean, I would have preferred to be able to use RVD's chair finisher as well, Van Damme in here instead of his trying to go for his freaking frog splash. Jeez, I'm sorry guys, I'm exhausted. Trust me, I'm not high or on drugs or any of that stupid stuff. I sound like it. I probably act like it with all my pauses and stuff. I'm just not good at collecting my thoughts, especially when I'm tired. And you know, I love uploading to YouTube pretty much every day, but I gotta to keep that up. You know, I still got, you know, wife and everything else on it. And obviously, this is a long video, so bear with me. That's all I gotta say.
I'm telling you, I don't think that chair's gonna be good for anything after this match.
Give me that chair. Gah! But I don't know. Hopefully, at least my pauses and stuff like that are entertaining at the very least. But yeah, hitting the 5-star frog splash in that battle royal, like when anybody on hard, it doesn't matter like what I do. It takes so long for the startup that I get a finisher pretty much every time I hit it, cause like, and you're guaranteed to hit them with it, cause it takes them a while to get up. But man, they do not. I guess this is still around the time where opponents did not want to stay down, especially on the higher difficulty. So I mean, I couldn't even hit a successful 5-star frog splash. All right, so we got our first pin. So I don't know, the time would have expired. So I guess what I said earlier about 10 minutes, you know, being more than enough, I guess I was wrong. So you know, I own up that. I have to own up to it, wholesale or whatever. But that said, I feel like I could probably get quite a few more falls now. Really, all depends on whether or not he allows me to hit my finisher. Oh. As long as he doesn't get up after my dance either. Ooh. I might still get it. That's crazy. Something about this game too, like I had a lot of trouble. Like I've already done all the superstar challenges, obviously. If you haven't, you know, and you're interested in seeing me ramble over those, check out that video as well. It's up on the channel. An issue I had in that video is Hulk Hogan has like a leg drop, and it's not like the one with all the theatrics or whatever. It's just a quick one, and they literally get up before you can even pin them. And it happened over and over and over and over again in this damn tag match. Oh my god. I don't know. And it seems like it's something similar with Shawn Michaels' Sweet Chin Music, you know, the one where he's not in the corner and marching up the band. It's like, dude, why would you even do something like that? Like, what? I should have enough time to pin my opponent before they get up, regardless of difficulty and whatnot. But I don't know, that's just kind of how it is for me. You know, I like to complain about 20-year-old games and saying, if they had done this better, man, I'm telling you, this game would be 100 times better, man. If they just done this little detail, the game would have been fire. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm a weird guy. I love to complain about the things, the things I love. So but that's just me. But one thing, you know, I'm gonna go over a few topics in this video because it is such a long one of some interesting things that I find about this game. So first off, I did this in my Superstars Challenges video, so I'm gonna just kind of go over it quickly. But you know, for those who haven't, you know, heard me ramble on it or have no idea about the betas, I love to go over the stuff on the Kung Fu 4s and stuff that we have in the betas of wrestling games that, you know, we didn't get and stuff like that. So you know. First off, you know, if you want to try the July 23rd beta of SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, there is a download link on the Hidden Palace. I haven't exactly thoroughly, you know, gone through that site or whatever. I did download 2 of the beta No Mercy ROMs eventually on that site. You know, I haven't had any issues with it, no viruses. You know, nobody's leaked any of my messages with those minors. Granted, you know, it's all wholesome conversations. I mean, you know, I don't get to talk to them too much, you know, since they're always down in the mines. But, you know, regardless, no issues. You know, I haven't been hacked yet from downloading the No Mercy mods off the Hidden Palace. I think it's a pretty reputable site, I would imagine. But that said, you know, it's just because I'm also paranoid about everything and all that sort of stuff. So take it with a grain of salt. But I mean, it should be safe if you download that stuff off of the Hidden Palace. But you know, I'm a paranoid guy. You know, though I only trusted one site wholeheartedly, and that was Vim's Lair, and you can still get some good stuff off of there. But man, it's so sad. You know, so I mean, just be careful what you download out there. That's all I gotta say. But that said, I'm just specifically gonna look at some interesting things off the cutting room floor. And as far as that goes, you know, like I said, I already went over in my Superstars Challenges video, so we're just gonna kind of gloss over some things here. I don't want to repeat myself too often. So there's quite a number of cut characters. Some of note are Brock Lesnar. Apparently he was in talks of joining the company. That's what this says. I don't know. I mean, I've heard otherwise, and you know that's incorrect. But according to this article, you know, instead of return to the company, Brock Lesnar ended up going to New Japan Pro Wrestling, which, you know, obviously he did do that. So he chose that over WWE, maybe because of the schedule or something like that. Either way, Brock Lesnar, he has a little bit of data left over in this game. Apparently he's also called Brock Lesnar instead of Brock Lesnar. Because, you know, Japanese, you know, L and R, they got like issues with that in their language, I guess. I think it's like something like R doesn't exist or whatever. The Dudley Boys, they left around June 2005, so apparently they were cut. It's so easy to cut characters in these games, but not to add them. It's so sad. It's kind of like, man, I wish they could have just been in it regardless. And that's kind of a lot of characters on this list, because they were cut pretty late. Another one, Maven. Maven, I believe, is, you know, you might be thinking, oh, Maven, who the hell gives about him? He's interesting in this case because he was pretty much like the most complete character that was cut in this game. And I think he was already cut by the time this beta came out. I could be wrong. You know, a little shout out to Young Boy 11. Like I said, I always shout out the people that I like to watch. He always looks at like the beta explorations. He's got some good mods and stuff like that in the Smackdown series. You know, Smackdown versus Raw Anthology. That was a you know, a mod that he's working on, and looks like some great stuff. And you know, I think he's a pretty entertaining guy to listen to. So if you want to ever check him out for like a whole bunch of stuff like unused characters and models and stuff like that in the Smackdown vs. Raw series, that's your guy to go to. Anyway, yeah, so Maven, he was going to be in it, you know, full model, full entrance. I believe his theme was also going to be in there. I can't quite remember, though. I think it would have been the only time his actual theme song appeared in a game, honestly. Tattoo by Mercy Drive. And I don't know. I thought Maven looked the most professional around this time. You know, he had good size. He finally had an actual look instead of just, you know, the weird sweatpants or, you know, just like the short trunks and looked like a indie wrestler or whatever. He actually looked like a WWE wrestler at this time, and it's too bad he wasn't given another chance. Apparently on his channel he said he could have came back, but he just wasn't ready for it, and that was kind of like his one opportunity to come back to the WWE, and it's whatever. But I mean, like, I don't know who's to say if Maven would have done anything, but he does have a pretty entertaining YouTube channel, so I don't know. I'm more of a Maven Huffman fan than I am an actual Maven fan, so we'll leave it at that. Another guy, Kenzo Suzuki. Interestingly, he was in WWE Day of Reckoning 2, and you faced him like I think twice in the you know, that game story mode and whatnot. So it's too bad he wasn't included in this game, as he would have been. I always say the mid carders in these games are kind of what really make it for me. Because obviously you're always going to have, you know, like starting from the Smackdown series, you're always going to have The Rock, the Stone Cold, the Undertakers, the Triple H's. You know, in the Ruthless Aggression games, you're always going to have the Batistas and John Cena's and Rey Mysterios and all that sort of stuff. But the mid-carders really kind of help you recapture that moment in time, in my opinion. Luther Reigns, he was also pretty complete. And yeah, I think he was one of the few guys that also, as him and Maven are the only two that have the actual models left over inside of the game. You know, I don't even remember anything about Luther Reigns other than he was on Team Angle. I remember he wasn't there for long, if I remember correctly. Then apparently Victoria and Stephanie McMahon, they were left on the disc. Although I think Stephanie McMahon, she's more or less a leftover character, not somebody who necessarily could have been added, but someone along the lines of like, all right, well, we got data for him left over from previous games. And I think that's kind of like a lot of upcoming characters as well. Masked Kane in the original SmackDown vs. Raw, Masked Kane was a different character from regular Kane. I can't remember if they had a different moveset or not. Obviously, they had different attributes and stuff like that, but obviously, like, it worked with old school Undertaker, and here comes the pain because obviously, you know, Biker Taker, old school Undertaker, I mean, that was pretty awesome. And they required different movesets because of the Tombstone Piledriver. Masked Kane, as much as I love the fact that they gave him an extra character slot at a time when, you know, most people didn't, obviously, you know, it was kind of just not necessarily. I'm glad in this game not only do you have Masked Kane, but you actually get to. It's like the only outfit I think that you actually start with from the beginning of the game. So maybe that means that like Masked Kane was originally going to be a separate character model, and that was like a last minute thing where they made him an outfit, and that's why he's the only one you get from the start. The British Bulldog. Apparently, there's an extra model, and it's his fully playable model from the original SmackDown vs. Raw. I don't know why they would have to make another model for him for this game in particular. I mean, he was, from all intents and purposes, it seemed like in the original SmackDown vs. Raw, he just was not included due to licensing issues. So he was pretty much fully complete and all this other stuff. So I don't know. It's just always weird that he wasn't in that game. But I mean, it's cool that he was in this game. I think he makes more of an impact. Then you have the Road Warriors, and it's kind of sad around this time they would stop being included because it felt like for a little while that the major legends that were included were the ones from the Attitude Era, like Stone Cold and The Rock, and we got a little bit from like the Golden Eras and stuff like that, but I don't know, it felt like the legends were getting a little, not necessarily stale by 2008, but like I kind of wish like it started off where like the games had a lot more Golden Era legends, and it seemed like we were getting less and less as the games kind of went on. So having the Road Warriors in would have been awesome. I don't think they even came back until what? Frickin' WWE 13 in the Attitude Era mode? I could be wrong in that. Somebody correct me on it if I am. Then Rowdy Piper. The issue with him, I guess. So it relates to this next character, actually. There's Mr. America, which was Hulk Hogan under that weird gimmick where like it was Hulk Hogan, but he really wasn't Hulk Hogan or something like that. And, you know, it was just Hulk Hogan under a mask. Same mannerism, same entrance, everything like that. And it was a pretty entertaining storyline, but I think something about it Hulk Hogan just didn't like because he actually left through that storyline. It looked like he was kind of having a blast with it, but I guess he just really hated that character or something like that because there was supposed to be the 4 faces of Hulk Hogan in this game. I'm playing as Hulk Hogan 80s. There's regular Hulk Hogan based off of his return in 2002 to WWE, and then there was Hollywood Hulk Hogan, which, once again, probably based off of his return to WWE, but yeah, I mean, so we could have had the 4 faces of Hulk Hogan, just like you have the 4 faces of Mick Foley in the next game, 2007. But I guess it was removed at Hulk Hogan's request. And apparently they say that Roddy Piper was removed likely due to the removal of Mr. America because of his involvement in the storyline. I actually don't even remember him being involved in that storyline, if I'm being honest. That said, I mean, like, if that is the case, like, why the hell would you get rid of a dude completely separate, essentially, to that? You know, it just, I don't know, that'd be lame. And obviously there's Jake the Snake Roberts as well, and he's not really a removed character. It's a character you need the PSP link cable to, so you would have to have a PSP, a PlayStation Portable. Then you would need to have that SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 for that handheld device. Buy the link cable, and then connect it to this game, so that way you can not even just outright unlock him, you have to use it so you can unlock Jake Roberts in the shop, and that's just one of the lamest things ever, man. I don't know, I always hated that kind of stuff, where it's like, yeah, you know, just buy this entire other console and buy this entire other game for that console, then buy this goddamn link cable. Oh yeah, and we'll give it to you. It's honestly worse than DLC in my opinion, because at least DLC you can just outright buy. But yeah, that's pretty much everybody in this game that was cut, or at least had data left over for them. But it's kind of interesting. It's sad when you think of the early SmackDown vs. Raw Legends rosters in some respects. Cause, some people like Jimmy Superfly Snuka, yes, he's pretty much disgraced at this point, and it's pretty much been outed that he's essentially a murderer at this point, which is very just very sad for that poor woman and stuff like that. I'm sure she was never you know, whatever she was doing, I don't think she ever deserved anything like that. You know what I mean? Nobody's a saint, but nobody deserves to, you know, be murdered or anything like that. Like I said, guys, I'm tired. So I'm not trying to sound disrespectful or stupid or whatever, but I'm just trying to say it's very, I feel bad for her and her family. But as far as the Sears go, before we knew that, I mean, we didn't see him very much after the original SmackDown vs. Raw. I believe he was in Here Comes the Pain. Sergeant Slaughter and Hillbilly Jim from Here Comes the Pain didn't really show up again, and Sergeant Slaughter was a, you know, major star, you know, back in his day. Hillbilly Jim, yeah, I think we all were kind of wondering what the hell he was doing in Here Comes the Pain. Brutus Beefcake, you know, a lot of people don't really like him. But when he was Brutus the Barber Beefcake, I mean, man, he was actually something there. That was, I always say, depending on your role, like some wrestlers, I think, you know, it's the issue is they don't get to actually show their personalities, their natural personalities, and if they were able to, then I think they would get over. Then there's some people in which I think their natural personalities are just kind of lame or shitty. Like there's nothing really special about them, but they don't get a gimmick, you know, that really suits them. So like I think Brutus the Barber Beefcake is kind of like that. He's not necessarily the best wrestler, and I don't know his actual personality, but obviously he had like 50 gimmicks wherever he went with Hulk Hogan and WCW and WWE and all that other stuff. You know, the Booty Man, the Zodiac, the Disciple, and yeah, he was kind of just like. Hulk Hogan was kind of like the Adam Sandler, which he brought all his friends along to, you know, wherever he went and got him jobs and parts in his storylines, we'll say, or whatever. But Brutus the Barber Beefcake, man, nah, he was pretty good. He was, I think that was kind of like the, I'm not saying it had real longevity or anything like that, but, you know, obviously they had the barber shop, and that was a pretty cool segment. Everybody knows it for, you know, Shawn betraying Marty Jannetty and the time where Marty Jannetty tried to run away from Shawn Michaels by jumping through the window. But I don't know, I thought it was an interesting gimmick at the very least. So, I mean, I think it's kind of the same thing with The Undertaker. I mean, I kind of like Biker Undertaker later on. Like, for example, you know, Big Evil Undertaker and all that sort of stuff. And he was really awesome and badass in the Brothers of Destruction, but that was kind of more so because we never really seen those two team up in that capacity. But I think you look at The Undertaker, you know, Mean Mark Callis, you know, no disrespect to him. I mean, he's got a great podcast and everything. This is just opinion based, but when you look at The Undertaker and his normal personality, and, you know, when he even came in as, you know, the American Badass and all that other stuff, I mean, I don't know, he was kind of just, if you hear his early promos when he came back, I'm sorry, man, that was kind of like 90s cringe. I mean, he said he was going to kick Vince McMahon's stank ass, and oh man, it's like just the way he talked, you know, it's like, and your wife Linda McMahon, you know, she you know, she gave me a fat contract and it's got, you know, a lot of zeros. And like, just like he talked like how I freaking talked in my Too Cool in my freaking WWF No Mercy my top favorite Aki wrestlers video, where I was talking like as stupid and like stereotypical like as I could, for Sky Too Hottie's entry or whatever. And I mean, like, it was just kind of bad. And like, as you can see, like a biker thing, all right, it's kind of cool, but I mean, we've seen biker gimmicks all over the place. It didn't work out for Chuck Palumbo. It didn't work out for I think they were the Disciples of Apocalypse or something like that, Crush. And I think they were the Harris twins. Yeah, it didn't really work out for those guys. So, I mean, yeah, there was just kind of not too much there for The Undertaker. I mean, some good lines stuck and were pretty good. This is my yard, of course, and all that sort of stuff. But on the other hand, yeah, I can understand why people were not the biggest fan of Biker Undertaker. But once again, I think when he turned into Big Evil, and I think they even called him Booker Red for some reason. I don't know what the hell that even means, but he was more interesting in the later stages, in my opinion. So it just kind of took him a little bit to find his identity with that. But the Undertaker character, of course, he's the most iconic wrestling character of all time. You can't even dispute that. I'm sure there's some weird guy out there who's like, oh yeah, well, he likes Trump. It's like, oh, okay. Who cares? I don't really care about people's political opinions or anything like that, but somebody like I've heard people say, oh yeah, well, the Undertaker was a terrible wrestler, and he had so many more opportunities than other people, but he was just sucking Vince's dick in the back and shoving his tongue down his ass, and it's amazing the things people will say. And I know most of them are trolls, but there are those people that are just so delusional about what they enjoy about wrestling is that they can't see what other people enjoy about wrestling. And that's a lot of wrestling fans, unfortunately. I'm not an AEW fan, but I can see why people like it, I don't really care if you like it or not. I'll criticize it, and I'll criticize the WWE all day and all this other stuff, but it's amazing how opinionated people are, and they're ready to just fight over their opinions. And, essentially it's tribalism in the sense, they're always like, oh, WWE, AEW, man. Just kind of talking crap about both sides, But yeah, I think that's pretty much a good chunk of the people that never came back. I think in the Day of Reckoning series, we had Greg the Hammer Valentine, so it's kind of interesting he was never in a main series one. SmackDown vs. Raw or anything like that. And it took us forever, to get Macho Man and frickin' Ultimate Warrior and all that sort of stuff in this series. It was definitely the 2010s, man. Like I always say, that's kind of storyline wise and creative wise. That time period was probably one of the worst, especially in the later years of the 2010s. But man, some of the craziest things in wrestling happened during that time. Bret Hart came back at the beginning of 2010 when nobody thought he would. Then they had Macho Man not necessarily come back to the company, but they made deals with him again. You could get Macho Man action figures. You could play as Macho Man in the video games. It's too bad. A lot of times WWE, and I think it's publicity in a lot of ways, they don't induct people that want to be inducted, or when they're alive, or people want to see inducted because they want to hear their speeches and all that other stuff. It's a celebration of their careers and lives and stuff like that. So that's some of the best part, is hearing the speeches. And Macho Man is one of those guys where it sounded like Vince definitely had issues with him. We never got the issues why, or the reasons why he had issues. But obviously he wasn't inducted until after he died. And you could even argue, maybe he wouldn't have been inducted if Vince didn't go on the freaking Stone Cold podcast, and Stone Cold kind of just was like, hey, what's going on here? But I don't know. That was kind of a weird interview in a lot of ways. Then there was also the Ultimate Warrior. I keep calling him Ultimo because I want to say Dragon, but the Ultimate Warrior, you know, he came back in 2014. Sting came in 2014 as well. You know, CM Punk left, and you know, we never thought we'd see him again, but he, you know, eventually came back later on. Recently, of course, Goldberg came back to WWE, and Brock Lesnar came back to WWE. I mean, there's so many crazy returns that nobody ever really expected to see happen. And I don't know, like, I don't know. I mean, the creative side, like I said, was not very good at all, but the business side and mending fences and stuff like that. I think even Bruno Sammartino came back around that time too to be in the Hall of Fame at the very least, because they kind of went PG and cleaned up their image a little bit. But man, oh man, like, when you were around this time period, like 2005, 2006, you know, even in 2010 when Bret Hart came back, I mean, it was just so unbelievable to think that, like, any of these guys would ever come back. You'd think, like, the fences were broken forever, you know? It was just impossible. So to see these guys, man, it was amazing. Like, I think people don't remember just how crazy of concepts that these were. Like, I know I keep going on about it, but I mean, like, seriously, like, Macho Man was gone for like 20 years before he came back. Ultimate Warrior, you know, he left in '96, did a lot of stupid shit and said a lot of stupid shit about people and stuff like that, and consistently, I don't. He's probably the most hated person in the wrestling business. That was like a megastar and stuff like that. Just, it seemed like nobody liked him, and you know, when you even like got in, like, all the backstage personnel like hated him and stuff like that. But you know, that's something special in and of itself. I mean, like, I don't think anybody expected him to come back. You know, it's just insanity. 2014 was a pretty crazy year. And now that I think about it, Sting came back in 2015. So if you wrote your comment, sorry, you're going to have to delete it now because you lost. I corrected myself there. Even Booker T came back in 2011, I think. And he fought Cody Rhodes for the Intercontinental title. That was pretty interesting as well. Wish they would have done more with him, but whatever, I suppose. At least we got that weird, goofy model in WWE 12. Alright, he was about to get up again. That's the stuff I'm talking about. They just don't stay down. Oh, come on. This is just getting ridiculous, man. This is what I'm talking about. He just doesn't stay down. Still a little bit of SmackDown 2 left in this game's DNA. I'm not a big fan of it.
So, Cole, you got any predictions? You know who you think's gonna win this one? No way.
But that said, I will also say that I did like about the fact around this time. There was a little bit of nostalgia, but it didn't feel like it was all about nostalgia, you know? I mean, they were kind of building up to, like, a lot of the legend shows, you know, they had like once a year or something like that, and the terrible battle royals. But overall, I mean, it definitely felt like after the Attitude Era, they were still focused on, like, all right, you know, ratings are down, stuff like that, but that's just business, you know. We had our spike, let's try it again, and, you know, let's still build to the future. You know, we got the Brock Lesnar's, the John Cena's, the Randy Orton's, the Batistas, all that sort of stuff. So I don't know, I think it was cool at that time, whereas, like, in the 2010s, it seems like, oh my god, I don't know what to do. But it seemed like in the 2010s, at the beginning, around that time, like maybe 2008ish or whatever, it was like they were afraid to build new stars. Which, I mean, the WWE has admitted they wanted it to be about the brand itself now. Like, oh, hey, the WWE's coming to town, rather than building individual stars. Like, oh, hey, Roman Reigns, he's coming to town. You know, he's Cody Rhodes, he's coming to town. He's the man, you know. Come see Cody Rhodes wrestling and stuff like that, you know. Which, I mean, it kind of seems like the same thing, but, like, you got to think of the context of, like, okay, but, like, is Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, like, even though they're the top guys now, is, like, Cody Rhodes, is it going to stick like that? You know, when he loses the title, is he going to kind of just shuffle back to on the card like we've seen so many times, or is he going to have, like, a Stone Cold role in the sense of he's going to keep going, and he might not be champion, but he's always going to have major storylines, you know? We got to see what happens with that whole ordeal. You can't really see it with Roman Reigns, because obviously he's pretty much, I don't know if he's necessarily done, but I think it's clear he's at least, at the very least, taking a break.
Great show here tonight for these St. Louis fans, and I can't wait to get started. He was one step ahead on that one.
This is honestly one of the best matches ever, too, in my opinion. So a lot of people, once again, it's all about your style for wrestling. For me, man, I always love the storylines and the stories of wrestling and the energy and the fans and all that other stuff. So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely not, you know, all the crazy moves that everybody can do nowadays and stuff like that. But it was just, these guys were so over as a whole. Hulk Hogan, people were so excited to see him back. It was just so awesome. It was like, you're never going to capture an atmosphere. That's the thing. You can always have people that can do crazy stunts and flips and stuff, but you can't recapture the atmosphere of these larger-than-life personas, really. And that's kind of what I liked about wrestling the most, you know, the larger-than-life characters. And I do like myself some comedy, and like I'm, you know, a guy with the entertainment side of things and stuff like that, but within reason, you know. I thought the Hurricane was funny. You know, I thought Eugene was pretty good, and he did have some funny moments. Let's see. The Boogeyman, I thought he was pretty entertaining. Simon Dean, I thought was hilarious, and this or that. But I think it's important to note that everybody other than Eugene, like Eugene later on, wasn't taken seriously. But like these guys, even though they had big matches and moments and like upsets and stuff like that, maybe at times, not like Simon Dean or Boogeyman, but you get the idea. That comedy characters, like, it's good that they kind of know their place in a sense, you know? Like, not as in, like, oh, they're lesser, you know, performers or anything like that. But in the sense of, like, I think wrestling nowadays, like, a lot of people like comedy wrestlers a little too much. You know, like the Orange Cassidy's, James Ellsworth. You know, he got his main event run, and people got sick of him pretty quickly, I think. Because I was still watching around that time a little bit with my friends and the pay-per-views and stuff. And man, yeah, that guy, he was goofy looking and he was funny looking, but I guess he's like just as weird and personality-wise as he looks or whatever. Like, I guess he's all about like the hooking up with the ladies or something like that. Which, hey, I mean, if it works for you, I mean, go for it, man. Yeah. But I think he definitely stood out just because of how goofy he looked. He was kind of reminds me of like the modern day version of Gilbert. But yeah, I mean, they kind of knew their place at the time, and now it just seems like if somebody's popular enough, or they perceive them to be as popular enough, like they'll kind of give these comedy characters a little more than what they deserve. And I don't know, I hate stupid storylines like the Katie Vick. Let's not even talk about that. Obviously, the miscarriage storylines in the WWE. I mean, like, that's just not cool. Mae Young giving birth to a hand. That's too much for me. Beaver cleavage. Good lord, man. We've gone through a lot of shit as wrestling fans that we've had to deal with. Man, look at that beautiful people's elbow, though. Makes up for it. So, I mean, that's a good example right there. Like, Jim Cornette said funny ain't money, and I think what he meant is, like, comedy characters in general. Like, obviously The Rock are funny, and Kurt Angle. But, I mean, Kurt Angle, I feel like, is underrated. I feel like he is known as good, but I feel like I mean, what can you say bad about Kurt Angle? I mean, realistically, what bad can you say about him? Amazing promos. tore it up every single time he went out there. Could make fun of himself. He was hilarious. He could get away with saying the most stupidest shit ever and still be beloved. I mean, think about this stuff. Think about the stuff he said. He literally said he wanted to have bestiality sex with Booker T's wife. And once again, I mean, I don't think he meant it in like the way of, oh, she's black, but like just it's still a weird thing to say just in general. But I don't know, it has been a while since I watched the promo, but then there's of course the time he said that he wasn't a fan of black people. He just straight up said, like, I mean, he did it in a comedic way. He said something along the lines, well, to be honest, I'm not a fan of and he put like in quotation marks the black people, you know, sounding like an idiot. Then he went on in the same promo saying if he could go back in time and make anybody tap out to the ankle lock, yeah, he would choose Jesus Christ. And it's just, they were cheering him afterwards. Like, he's so good that he can get away with saying that kind of dumb stuff. I mean, I kind of do worry for him. Cause I mean, the way people are nowadays, craziness, you know, they'll dig that up and say, yeah, see, here's proof WWE was always racist, or, you know, goofy stuff like that. Like, people got really upset over the freaking, not too long ago, the Carlito stuff with, you know, him saying, I think it was like a Japanese wrestler or whatever, or maybe it was, I don't know what like nationality they were or whatever, because I didn't really watch the product or anything like that, you know. So if I got it wrong and it was like Korean or whatever, my apologies, but he was just walking away looking at her, and he just said to like the general manager, Adam Pearce, like, oh, I gotta learn Chinese, and like it was this big deal, and the WWE had to issue an apology and, you know, make a note, you know, everybody know that Carlito ad-libbed the line, and it's like, come on, man, like, that's kind of the issue I would have a little bit with modern wrestling with some fans is, I think the Attitude Era, as great as it was, it kind of tainted a lot of wrestling fans' minds in the sense of, like, cool heels are awesome. Triple H I liked a lot and stuff like that, but it kind of tainted the mindset in which a lot of fans, they feel like modern wrestling, they have to like the heel, or the heel has to like play by what their rules that they consider that they can get away with, you know. Like, you know, doing the generic shit, like the low blows, and cheating with the ref and stuff like that. The generic stuff that everybody knows is scripted and doesn't actually ever hate anybody for doing anyway, but the moment they actually do their job as heels, and it's like, you know, they say something that might irritate you a little bit or something like that, that's when people get irritated, and like they, oh man, you know, it's WWE racist, the WWE is racist, you know. Come on, man. You're not supposed to like the heel. And that was kind of the thing that kind of bothered me a little bit with Roman Reigns. And he was good at it. I thought Roman Reigns, you know, because when I was watching, Roman Reigns was like cheeks, poop. And it was because the WWE machine was kind of telling him what to do. I mean, suffering succotash. Come on, we already know everything that was wrong with Roman Reigns. He was Cena 2.0, but Cena worked. And, you know, I believe there's never, with the way the internet is and, you know, everything like that and how people are, and, you know, once again, we've kind of created this difference in audience. You know, there's people like me that like the entertainment side. There's people that like the pure wrestling, athleticism sides and the matches. So there's never going to be someone who is ever universally beloved in wrestling today, especially as far as, you know, like when they picked them to be the main stream star and like that of the company. Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes are perfect examples. You have two people, you know, both sides are like, oh man, Roman Reigns, he's great. Cody Crybaby, he sucks. And then you have people that are Cody Rhodes fans saying, oh yeah, Roman Reigns, he can't even lace up Cody Rhodes' boot, he's terrible, yada yada. But with Roman Reigns, it seemed like once he turned heel, and he was able to show his personality and showed how much people, you know, were wrong for downing him. And obviously, you know, he just, when he was finally given the chance to show off his personality, like I was speaking about earlier, he showed off his personality, and yeah, I mean, I kind of wanted to hate Roman Reigns for the longest time, because the Roman Reigns I knew was not that good. He was not entertaining, in my opinion. He was always had some pretty decent matches. I always thought he had the most. He was one of the best storytellers for the longest time. But that said, it was like, nah, man, he's terrible. I seen him. He can't remember anything that he wants to say. He comes across as so unnatural. And then you see him as like the tribal chief, and it's like, holy crap, this is a completely different dude. And there's things I don't like about his character, but it's like, yeah, I can see why this is the guy at the company. And, I mean, I'm saying that, like, I didn't want to admit it. I actively didn't want to like him, in a way, because I was stubborn, a lot of us have been there, where it's like, we want to be stuck in our ways, but I got to give it to Roman Reigns. He made me a believer. That said, I felt like people gravitated more to him because he was a heel rather than like, oh, here's this new personality he's got, at least at first. That's what I kind of started to read on, like, the websites, the what cultures, and that whole thing, and I don't know, I think that's just so lame. Everybody was kept asking, like, oh, please, can we turn him heel so we can freaking cheer him, man? It's like, what kind of logic is that? You know what I mean? I don't know. I think that's just goofiness. But what are you going to do, I guess I'll also take a little bit of time to discuss what some interesting features I found in this game, in my opinion, that people don't really talk too much about, and they don't really get brought up in the series again. So, one thing that I always thought, he was waiting for me. But one thing that I always thought was cool that they added in this game that they didn't add for a while is, I believe it was the Superstar challenges. When you finish those, you actually unlock a second steel cage variant, which is the blue cage. The old classic one, and that's just awesome. That combined with the WrestleMania 9 arena, that's it's so awesome, and it looks so good in this game too. That said, they just didn't bring it back for whatever reason. I've said it a million times, I don't know how game development works, but you would think that they're building off each game one after the other. I mean, this game in particular, you can see they reuse so many models for the next couple of games for some characters. Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Triple H. Maybe even The Rock, Hulk Hogan, I believe, if he's in 2007. I could be wrong. I don't think I can't remember. I think he might be, but I can't remember. I'm sure the Mankind model they reused for 2007. So why not bring back the blue cage for that, or even recolor it into the black cage for the Attitude Era? You know what I mean? But I don't think it came back until WWE 13 with the Attitude Era mode. Another cool feature that was in this game, but they never brought it back, and I'm assuming it's because it was so rare and so difficult to pull off. Even on the main menu screens, when the loading screens, it's like in one of those, it actually tells you how to do it and what happens. It's when you and your opponent, right, both run out of momentum at the same time, and I think it has to be after a big move as well. But when you both run out of stamina, there's like the classic, where both guys are down and the referee starts counting to 10, and there's like a mini game involved in it, and if you don't get up in time, you get counted out and you lose. I think this is the only game where they ever actually showcased that, and I don't know, it's such an underrated feature. I mean, I think they just couldn't, like I said, it's so hard to do because you don't think it would be, but to be able to get your opponent's stamina drained and then you do the same to yourself, it's like damn near impossible for me. I mean, I'm sure somebody has got it down pat or whatever and could show it off, but like in my experience, what always happens is they get their stamina drained, and then I do the finisher, and they somehow get a little bit of like that momentum as it just naturally recharges when it like empties out, and that's enough like for them to not have to be going down with me and stuff like that. So I don't know. I've done it once in my life. I think it was like with Shawn Michaels with the Sweet Chin Music, and I think Bret Hart and stuff like that. And I've tried to do to replicate it a few times in Iron Man matches in season mode. I could not do it. But I don't know. That's just a very cool feature and interesting thing that never returned. And like I said, it's on. You can see like it's not even something that they tried to hide in the game. it's just so hard that nobody ever usually did it, I feel like. And that's why it's not as memorable as other features. Especially they didn't bring it back, which they probably could have in 2007. Because it kind of, that game had the similar, God damn it. Oh, actually, not bad. But, yeah, I mean, they have the similar stamina feature, so, I mean, you would think that, they would have brought it back. But it was not meant to be. But I don't know, this game in general, too, I think the arenas that they brought back were a lot cooler. Like WrestleMania 9 that we're fighting in right now. They kind of ruined it a little bit. Like, you can see, like, they have the things you can stand on and stuff like that, like on the outside. And it's like, you didn't really need to put it there. Like, I get why. It's like, because this was still around the time where, I think this was like the last game in which you could still jump up on the barricade and jump off it and stuff like that. And you've seen a few times in the season mode where, like, I'll slam somebody and they'll just kind of slide up the barricade before they fall back down. That's probably why they got rid of it, for like a realism issue and stuff like that. But I don't know. I feel like you could have had the same thing with just the regular normal bars there. But I don't know. But like WrestleMania 9, that was an awesome arena that they added. And the logos too that they have on the barricade, that I actually think it adds to the arena. But I don't know. Sweet stuff there. You know, the ECW arena is pretty cool, but I forget if that returns in 2007 or not.
They sure are. And that's an impressive thing in and of itself. Nice quick counter.
And this one, folks, I can tell you right now, it's going to be a long one. I mean, we haven't even, nobody even has some limb damage yet. This is a submission match. I mean, I have no choice. I mean, my, you know, my luck has ran out. I literally have to win this match, like, or else I just don't complete the challenges. And if you followed me on my season mode playthroughs, you've known that I pretty much had to quit out or just let the opponent beat me on every single one of my submission match things. Because I mean, this game kind of spams you with submission matches and Iron Man matches. It feels that way anyway. It's like the equivalent to No Mercy's handicap matches. Where it's like, don't know what to do for a special match storyline. Make it a handicap match. Man, the poor referee, I swear, I don't try and kick their asses. They're just always in the damn way. And another thing with this match, though, too, is submission matches, for some reason, you can't go outside of the ring. I don't know if this was something established in, like, the Benoit and Angle matches or what not, but it's kind of annoying because obviously now I had to go off of root strength essentially and try and just win this based off of the technical skill of the Hitman here instead of cheaping my way through it by using weapons. And I don't know, I'm gonna try. I had a match with Ric Flair with John Cena in the season mode, and I used he had red legs. I kept using his finisher, the figure 4 leg lock, and I didn't use his finisher to see if like that would change anything. I tried like 10 times for the submission Bs, where you know you just see me use where it's like you know they have to stop it in the boom meter to escape. I, for the life of me, could not get Ric Flair to tap after like almost, what, 10-20 minutes. So, I mean, that's the only way I'm going to win. So, might be a long one, but it's like the only way I can win, folks. So, bear with me here. He's actually kicking my ass, apparently. Damn.
Emotional as well as physical pain is that much worse. Emotional? What the hell are you talking
Sorry,
about?
I got a little excited there.
After a match and seen the superstars who don't get their hands raised. You can literally feel the disappointment radiating off them. It's not a pretty sight.
This was a legendary match, though, in all things considered. But I don't really need to say much about it. Everybody knows WrestleMania 13, legendary encounter. Probably the most famous wrestling match of all time in a lot of ways. I mean, I think the most famous from a mainstream perspective is definitely got to be, you know, Mankind and Undertaker, Hell in a Cell, King of the Ring, which coincidentally, I believe we're going to be doing that as well. But I think for a lot of people, yes, this is also probably one of the most popular matches of all time and considered to be one of the best. And I mean, how can you blame them? I mean, I watched it. I even watched it again. I watched it a few times. I watched it again with my brother. You know, because we were like, okay, you know, what are some great matches we want to see? You know, our personal favorites to see if they hold up, and matches. You know, I picked a lot of matches where it's like, okay, let's see. You know, from the legacy standpoint, do they still hold up? You know, is it still great and this or that? And yeah, this match is still a fantastic encounter. Remember they had to try and make it where Stone Cold got busted open the hard way.
The longer you stay in this, the more risk you have for serious injury.
But also, I mean, I miss the. I feel like the games never really recapture this very well. It's like the era they never want to mess around with again. I mean, the new generation era with the blue. Like the Attitude Era in particular is what I'm talking about, like where they had the raw letters and the blue aesthetic instead of the black. Man, that was a time. I always thought that those stages and the arenas looked so cool. I do honestly. I mean, I do like how they look. At least back in, like, you know, the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era and stuff like that, you know. I think those arenas are some of my favorites, but I mean, I think the blue aesthetic, you know, the blue steps, I mean, that's underrated. Obviously, it started in the 80s and stuff like that, but
Looks like they might be taking this match down a notch.
I don't know. I always just associate it with, like, 1997 for some reason. It's just kind of, you know, the era I was looking at. 97's a bit of an underrated year in general, it seems like. It seems like it's a lot of people's favorites. And you gotta admit, I mean, they did such a good job of building up the characters. It didn't do as well business-wise. It wasn't until the end of the year. But I mean, if they didn't build up the characters and stuff like that, then who's to say if we'd be playing WWE now? You know, we might be playing WCW. You know, we might be playing Nitro versus Thunder 2006 right now. If it wasn't for, you know, the 1997 and the building of the characters and stuff, and the Montreal screw job, and, you know, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels and the Undertaker at SummerSlam. Man, the ref just cannot catch a break in this match, but he keeps getting in our face. You see what I mean?
Man, what a match. Kids, if you're watching this, don't
Stop hurting me. Man, this is actually kind of getting bad, because if I'm not going to lie, if I lose, I'm going to be pretty irritated. Oh, thank God, he's an idiot. The AI is almost always exploitable in these wrestling games, and yeah, this one... yeah, this one is mostly based off of the stamina system. Because they're just going to implement it properly. Like, they don't want to... They'll just keep attacking you. But they don't have they don't have quick grapples in this game, so they can't just give you, like, with a quick thing to knock you down so they can start charging themselves again. But yeah, see, I can never... I'm mashing that X button, but it is rare for me to be able to even make it to the to where the, you know, thing actually shakes before they escape it. And obviously, I mean, if you don't do that, then you're not doing any damage. But
hey, no, that's not gonna make you popular, but you gotta do whatever it takes to win.
Yeah, he's actually kind of giving me the business here. The only thing that's saving me is the fact that he just won't. He will not have time to, you know, charge his thing. That, and obviously, if you're a clean superstar, spam the hell out of the freaking high flying attacks. Like, trust me, it's worth it. It's almost necessary in a lot of cases, really. I mean, you need, as you can see, I mean, I'm still getting my butt whooped by, and on top of that, there's also the fact that if you're a dirty superstar, use weapons when you can and cheat when you can, because weapon, like, they kind of, it's broken in a lot of ways. Like, you shouldn't be able to just get like practically a finisher, like almost more than half of a momentum raise or whatever from doing a high flying attack if you're clean, and it shouldn't drain that fast if you're a heel either. That's just how it is, I guess. But I mean, same with weapons. Like, it's so broken. Like, even in hardcore matches, they made it to where freaking dudes would like in hardcore matches, if you're a clean superstar, you still end up losing momentum for using weapons. So I mean, it's literally actively discouraging you from this match type in a way. And honestly, if you're like a heel and or the dirty superstar, I should say, and you end up using this stuff, I mean, at that point, you know, I mean, it's like 1 or 2 hits and you have a finisher. Like, you can literally get a 2 finishers with 1 weapon. It's ridiculous, the balancing in this game at times. One thing though, I do kind of want to bring up. This is actually a bit of an old article, but I seen a thing about it like on Facebook a while ago, or not a while ago. Like, I seen this thing on Facebook about it, you know, about the post, and apparently a while ago, around it says October of 2024, the WWE. They had a 20 greatest WWE wrestlers of all time on Sports Illustrated. So this isn't like a WWE publication or anything. It's that Sports Illustrated, you know, the one that used to have like those swimsuit girls and whatnot, and in the bikinis and stuff like that. That used to be a big deal before people could, you know, find things online, we'll say. But yeah, so they have the top 20 WWE superstars of all time. So keep in mind, WWE, not WCW, ECW, AEW, or wrestlers of all time, just WWE. So I'm gonna share this with you because I thought there were some pretty interesting takes on it, but some pretty crazy ones as well. So we're gonna start at number 20 with what is my opinion the craziest take on the entire list. Number 20, the superstar that is the 20th best in the history of the WWE, according to Sports Illustrated, is Becky Lynch. Now here's the thing, you know, I've watched a little bit of Becky Lynch, you know, because I was watching around that era. I kind of stopped. When I really just completely stopped watching was around 2018-ish. Maybe 2017-ish. It was before Roman Reigns went heel. So, I mean, I've heard of her. I've seen a few matches of her and all this other stuff. And, I don't know, man. Like, I don't think it's one of those things where it's like, okay, yeah, we're trying to be progressive, put a girl on the list. And she's the only one that's on here. But, I mean, that's just crazy to me. I don't know. When I think of WWE, I think of larger-than-life personalities, and I don't know, I've heard a few of her promos. I'm going to be honest, like, I can't understand what she's saying half the time. I'm not even trying to be a dick in that way. Like, I'm Irish, right? Probably not purebred, you know, Irish 100%. I mean, that'd be pretty crazy, but, like, I'm mostly Irish. I mean, if you were to see me, you'd know exactly, and honestly, I don't have the accent. I'm not from Ireland or anything like that, but man, I mean, like, I couldn't, like, I don't think she really has the ability to talk, in my opinion. Not as well as people like to say, you know. I get it, you know, she has that thing where she says she's the man, and a lot of people like it, you know, and, oh, I'm the man. Like, that's how I think she says it, and I don't know, like, the one diva that well, I mean, rephrase that, some people might get upset, but the one woman's wrestler that I that I actually kind of liked around that era is Asuka. And one of the main reasons, I'm not even gonna lie, I have a little bit of an affinity for the Asian ladies. You know, they're my weakness. You know, I got that yellow fever. You know, I got a fever, and the only prescription is a little bit of that yellow. You know what I mean? So, you know, there's that. But I mean, I did think the undefeated streak was kind of cool. I think Goldberg is a little silly thinking it was trying to replace him or something stupid like that. He actually said like he didn't like Asuka or whatever because it was WWE trying to replace his legacy with that, and it's like, no, dude, relax. It's not the same thing. But then I definitely lost interest in that when she lost her match against Charlotte Flair. I think at WrestleMania 34 it was, and it was just terrible. Like, it was just not a very good match, and it was very anticlimactic. And she tried to have the speech at the end where she was like kind of crying and saying, you know, oh, Charlotte, you beat me, and you know, her broken English and stuff like that. And if people were saying, oh, you know, don't make fun of her for the broken English, no, I like that. I like the pure Japanese ladies myself. You know, if they can speak if they're Americanized, I don't want them. I don't want them. But yeah, all jokes aside, though, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that. They kind of ended that angle, and she came in with a lot of steam. I thought it was weird when she had like the kick pads, but she was wrestling barefoot. That was just, yeah. That was I don't like any barefoot wrestlers. That's just gross. I think feet are gross in general. You know, just thinking about them. I have had nightmares, you know, about hairy men's feet, and then I wake up screaming, and I can't be consoled. Let's just put it that way. But I don't know if they had like if they should have just had her lose in a different way, you know, like Goldberg, for example. I mean, at least when he lost to someone who was, you know, pretty popular. He was like pretty much the second babyface almost of the company, Kevin Nash at the time. And on top of that, you know, freaking Scott Hall came down to the ring with a taser and tasered Goldberg. I mean, like if Ric Flair came down to the ring and tasered Asuka and she lost, that was the way she lost. I mean, not only would that be awesome, but yeah, I mean, then there's a reason, right? Other than she just got beat clean and okay, end the storyline. Next, so, but I don't know. The point is I've never been a fan of women's wrestling, right? And here's the thing: I'm not saying that they can't do it or anything like that, or you know. And I know there are a lot of people that do like Becky Lynch, unironically, and think that she's the women's wrestlers were better than the guy wrestlers a few years ago. Now I don't really hear that as much. Like Rhea Ripley seems like to be the modern top woman, so to say. You know, she's pretty popular, and obviously she posts those pictures of her online, usually in like bikinis or after working out, and you got all those sweaty guys going, "Oh, mommy, you know, like, yeah, she's a good looking woman and stuff like that." But I don't know. For me, like, I grew up in the era where divas, they were like the piss break match. You know, like, they're from a bygone era and stuff like that, where, you know, it was all about swimsuit models and all that sort of stuff. And I mean, I don't know, it was just kind of like a bathroom break for me, even as a kid. You know, like, there were some benefits to it, you know, like I like seeing the loading screens around this time with Trish Stratus. You know, SmackDown 2, that's the legendary one with Trish Stratus. You know, I had no complaints in that department, but like when I'm watching wrestling, I want to watch those, you know, I don't want to see, you know, some chick with her boobs hanging out. I want to see greased up men in freaking short tights and, you know, no shirts on going at it, you know, real athletic contest, you know what I mean? Come on. And I don't know, it just, we did it! Oh my god, we did it! Holy shit. Okay. No more submission matches. We finally did it, folks. But to continue on with my point there, yeah, I don't know. When I grew up, divas were just kind of like piss break matches. That's essentially what I'm trying to say. And people are crazy if they think that sex still doesn't sell. I mean, you have to do it in different ways. And like people try and act, you know, like, oh, morally superior about it. But now the same people that are like, you know, especially dudes, the same dudes that are saying like, yeah, you know, see women respect, yeah, which they should be. No questions there. But like the people, it seems like the ones with anything, you know, when they speak out against something, a lot of times you'll notice that those people are the ones who are speaking out against what they're doing in themselves, whether it's, well, I don't want to bring up too many issues. It's supposed to be entertaining, but that said, when it comes to like issues people you speak out against, it's usually in a hypocritical sense. So, a lot of times, not all of them, but there is a good chunk of dudes that are like, oh, respect women, they're more than bodies, and meanwhile they're going on Twitch streams with like the women doing crazy shit, like, bikini streams and hot tub streams and all this other stuff, or OnlyFans. Where like, the whole benefit is you don't even have to show yourself naked or anything like that. It's just talking to some dude and giving them attention. I don't know. I mean, so sex definitely sells. It's just that the media doesn't want it to seem that way anymore. By the way, I mean, like, and all the divas, I think, are still the women in today's WWE, I should say. I think they're all still pretty good looking women and stuff like that. But that said, yeah, I've just never been a women's wrestling fan, It's tough for me nowadays. I don't even really watch the product anymore. Like I said, I kind of stopped around 2017-ish. But, I mean, I couldn't even get into the freaking dudes wrestling. So, yeah, I don't know. I just, if you want to, if you like that stuff, it's cool. It's kind of like AEW with me and stuff like that. But, I mean, I just don't think it just matches up the same for me. Like I said, I like the larger-than-life characters, the big muscle dudes, tossing each other around and hitting each other with chairs and crazy weapons and stuff like that, with the storylines being the focal point. Which, I've heard they've gotten a lot better with storylines in modern WWE and stuff like that, but I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if I really have the time for that stuff, because I have work and, I devote pretty much all my time to YouTube or hanging out with friends or family and stuff like that, so I got, like, I don't know if I have time for that in my schedule, to be honest with you guys. But I would like to go back to WWE around and see, someday, is this really something worth, getting into? And it seems that way. A lot of people have a lot of good to say, and it's not just crisp work rate and check this guy out on the indies like they were like 10 years ago.
Hey, Cole. 2 words. Shut up.
That is such a goofy move. I like how the ref doesn't get in my face for that, but like, whatever. By the way, for this list, I mean, yeah, I don't know if I can just believe Becky Lynch is that good, especially since I have not heard people talk about Becky Lynch for a long time. The time that I heard when people really liked Becky Lynch was when she got into that angle, and I think it was Nia Jax or somebody got, accidentally broke her nose in the ring, and she was up on this ramp and she was smiling with the blood all over her face, and people were saying that's an awesome moment. And that is pretty cool and badass. And I think she was popular, and that was kind of like the moment that made her in a lot of ways. But I think pretty quickly it seemed like she fizzled out, especially in favor of people like Ronda Rousey, which, probably one of my least favorite wrestlers of all time as far as personality-wise goes. But maybe I'll get into that another day. But either way, yeah, I don't know if I believe she's number 20. Because even like people who weren't in, like I said, I made an emphasis on this is the WWE. I feel like guys like Ric Flair in '92 and stuff like that, and other people that didn't make it on the list they had much more monumental careers than Becky Lynch has. But maybe she still has a good run in her and all that sort of stuff. Number 19 is Mick Foley, and I don't know how to feel about this one. I kind of already looked over the list and stuff like that, but I feel like you should be a little higher, honestly. I'm a little biased. I'm a bit of an attitude era fanatic, as you guys know, but I always say this. I feel like face-wise, Mick Foley was number 3. He's the best-selling author at the time at the WWE for a reason. He was no slouch. He was so. People say, like in '99, he wasn't like later '99. He wasn't in the same, Mick Foley was, and late '99 because he had the character change. He wasn't seen as a WWF World Title contender. I don't know if I agree with that. Like, I think now maybe that might be the prevailing theory, just because of how easy it is to just kind of like say, oh yeah, goofy character change, was terrible. That's just kind of how the WWE was at the time. They were larger than life characters, and late 1999 Mankind his best incarnation? No, I don't think so. Mr. Sacco was a little goofy for my taste at times too, but it was awesome. It didn't seem like it made him any less of a wrestler, and he had to do less of the hardcore stuff. I mean, then you talk to, and then you compare him to some of the other people at the time. I mean, he was still, who was better? Triple H was still coming up. He made Triple H, in my opinion, as far as, adding the real legitimacy they needed for his feud with The Rock and, actually being a main player and stuff like that. Undertaker, he was gone at that time, and I don't know. I mean, he was still pretty popular at that time, but I was not a big fan of the Ministry of Darkness Taker personally. Cool look, I'll say that. Very cool and unique Undertaker look, but character-wise, I don't know. I mean, the weird crucifixion things were funny, which apparently Bruce Pritchard said it wasn't crucifixion, I guess. I don't know how it wasn't, but okay. But Bruce Pritchard is a bit of a he's a politician, we'll just say that. But I think the craziest thing he did, two of the craziest things I think Undertaker did that nobody talks about enough for how goofy the Ministry of Darkness Taker was A, he legitimately tried to kill Stone Cold by using the embalming thing and embalm him alive or whatever. And then there was a time where he was sacrificing himself to Midian, and they had the thing where he was cut himself and drew the blood or whatever. I think it was like a pen or something like that, but it was still this is a bit too much for me. But number 18, we got Chris Jericho, and right off the bat, I can accept your opinion if you disagree, because it is pretty subjective. I think Mick Foley should have been higher than Chris Jericho. And I think the importance about this list is to remember that this is just kind of pretty much probably one guy's opinion. And if not, it's not like an official list or whatever, but man, alright, we got the win. But man, I don't know. I think Chris Jericho, it's probably because they're, a lot of people like this transformation and stuff like that, but man, I feel like people just forget all the time. Mick Foley got 3 characters over in a short period of time. It's all of them world championship contenders! Son of a bitch, how did that happen? But yeah, Chris Jericho I definitely loved during the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era. I think he lost a lot of steam in the Ruthless Aggression Era after his Undisputed title win, and that was the WWE's fault in my opinion. I don't think they really booked him as well after that fact. The title, his title run was booked very poorly. It was clear as day they never gave a shit about him being the champion, and I think, it always bothered me. I've said this before. You're the undisputed champion. You were won 2 bouts in the same night and all this other stuff, and you're supposed to be literally the best in the world, right? You're the top guy in the company, and you have the belt to prove it. And I loved it when he bragged about how he was the undisputed champion, but man, I feel like he didn't do himself any favors. To me, I know a lot of people, most people don't see it this way. Whenever he said, "Oh, I beat Stone Cold and The Rock in the same night," to me it felt like it was okay, he was treating it as a fluke, and that in and of itself is more important than the world title that he won that night. Think about it. That's not the only guy to have done that. Kurt Angle beat Stone Cold and The Rock in the same night, Armageddon 2000. I just feel as though, I mean, like, it's kind of underselling that personal achievement, and by saying, oh, I beat these two guys in the same night, I think it made him look weaker than what he should have. And I don't know. Obviously, you know, like, Stephanie McMahon should... That was close. Stephanie McMahon should not have been involved in that storyline, in my opinion, unless... Because when Stephanie McMahon, I don't think she's as bad as people say, but whenever she was involved with a storyline, especially with Triple H, oh man, I mean, she kind of, it ruined the storylines in a lot of ways, because they weren't willing, Triple H was not willing to have Stephanie McMahon, you know, go with any other dudes. That's what ruined the storyline with Kurt Angle and Triple H, is that, you know, they built up this whole time, Kurt Angle's with, Stephanie McMahon, and then all of a sudden Triple H gets cold feet and he's like, yeah, no, nobody's gonna believe that. Dude, yeah, they are. And even if they don't, who cares? It's a storyline. Come on, man. Those are the things. That's definitely the thing about Triple H that I 100% agree with people on. It's just lame as hell. And then with you know, Chris Jericho, you know, he said, yeah, you know, he pretty much was just her. I mean, he was literally just her bitch. For what? Why? He's the champion. Why is the storyline about her? That is McMahon ego right there. I definitely feel like Stephanie, as much as I just kind of said, I don't think it's as big of a... You know, I think people are too hard on her a little bit for her legacy, but I think more so than Vince. People are always like, oh, Vince and his ego, yada yada, and all this other stuff. I think Stephanie's storyline on screen was way worse. You know, whether it was... You know, ruining storylines with that. There was also the fact of, you know, Dusty Rhodes. Like, she was trying to talk, and Dusty Rhodes didn't let her speak and stuff like that. And she got legitimately pissed off about it and said he couldn't have a microphone anymore or whatever. Like, get over yourself, man. Still? Jeez, man, how many times do I have to recreate that falling off the cell moment before he gives up? But yeah, Chris Jericho, I think when he came back in 2008, I thought the character was interesting. I think it's a little overrated. He had a really good feud with Shawn Michaels, and it was more serious, and I do like that fact. But I think after that feud, it just didn't hit the same. You know what I mean? Jericho was okay. I never really liked him in 2010, though. I thought that was probably Jericho's, one of his most blandest years. And then he came back in 2012, and he just didn't really do much. I mean, I liked his match with CM Punk at that year's WrestleMania, and the storyline was really good. But it seems weird to me, like, it doesn't seem like Jericho fit that role, if that makes sense. Like, I think a guy, you know, bringing up CM Punk and talking about his family that's terrible and they're addicts and stuff like that, I just didn't believe Jericho in that role, personally. Like, it just seemed weird for him to be the guy to be doing that in the feud and stuff like that. And obviously, they had the whole stipulation of CM Punk got too mad and got disqualified, he'd lose the title and all that sort of stuff. It was alright, but I just don't think it was as good as it could have been. And I wasn't a big fan of his feud with Dolph Ziggler either. That was kind of the year where it's like, okay, this dude is getting ridiculous with this coming back and leaving shit. And that's when I kind of just said, screw it, I don't really give a shit about Jericho at this point. You can't care about him. And then he came back with the list thing and late champion and the champagne stuff. I was just not a big fan of that, or the best friend stuff, but I don't know. It was decently popular at the time. But let's see who's next anyway. CM Punk is number 17 on the 20 greatest WWE superstars according to Sports Illustrated. And I can kind of see it. I think CM Punk is more of an underrated wrestler. I think he had the potential to be the megastar, and I know a lot of people disagree, and a lot of people say that, you know, he was given a good run and all this sort of stuff, and I think you have to wonder what would have happened if Cena was winding down a few years earlier. Because, yeah, he did have that great championship run, and I loved it all the way through. I thought CM Punk was really great. I liked him more as like a face, honestly. I know a lot of people, you know, disagree with that, but I liked it all the way through, and I don't know. I mean, it's just, for me, it's really tough to say. I mean, I also love the straight edge gimmick, you know, CM Punk and ECW, and I think he was kind of lame for a little while after he got off of ECW until probably around the Straight Edge Society. I thought that was a decent gimmick. I think it kind of was pretty lame when he lost to Rey Mysterio and lost his hair. And I know a lot of people like that look in that mask. I thought it kind of just killed that character in a lot of ways. And honestly, I think he got injured later on and became a commentator before he came back in 2011 with the New Nexus. The New Nexus was terrible. Me personally, anyway, I think so. And I don't know, man. I mean, was he great? Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, but he also wasn't on top for very long. I think he was definitely someone who was really mainstream that regardless of your feelings of AEW or whatever, or what you like to watch about AEW, I think he definitely, the audience, it was clear as day there were two audiences in AEW, and he was a big part of that second audience. And I think when he left, you can see that the show really started, like, they lost a big star in it, and they lost someone that they loved to watch, and he was a major factor of that show. And a lot of diehard fans of AEW who were, you know, fans of the Bucks and all this other stuff, and Jungle Jack Perry and all that sort of stuff. Like, I think CM Punk was 100% in the right in that situation. If somebody's making a big deal on TV about something that nobody ever is going to know about, but you know it's going to make the dirt sheets or whatever, and it's going to get explained, and then for that guy to come back and, you know, you get in an argument, the dude gets in your face and says, what are you going to do about it? Like, no, like, I'm sorry, you're just, you can't let that go if you're like a man, you know. If you're getting called out, there's being the bigger man and letting things go, and then there's just not taking blatant disrespect from somebody, no matter what their size is. And all he did was put him in a freaking headlock for like 2 seconds, and then he yelled at Tony Khan. So I don't know. I thought that just made them look ridiculous. And, you know, on top of that, you know, like, I think if you, like, let's say you got rid of the Young Bucks, right? In that same situation, I think the viewership would go down because there's clearly people that watch for the Young Bucks and in that indie style of wrestling. So if you got rid of that presentation, obviously a large amount of people would drop down. So it's not just like CM Punk was AEW thing. No, I think he was a big combination of that. People were crying when he first came in and all that sort of stuff. And I don't know. I think it's just, once again, like, it just shows the division of all the wrestling fans in today's wrestling and stuff like that. But it sounds like CM Punk, you know, he has been injury prone in the last few years, but it sounds like, you know, he had a pretty good match with Drew McIntyre of last year at Hell in a Cell that a lot of people were talking about. So I mean, it sounds like he finally got his mojo back in a lot of ways. So good for him, you know, he's able to get at least one last run. Number 16, we got Andre the Giant. I can't speak on this too much. I think during the Attitude Era, we got spoiled with 3 giants: The Undertaker, Kane, and Big Show, right? I don't think they tarnished Andre the Giant's legacy, but I think, especially with them having so much personality, you know, Big Show was the biggest, Kane was an awesome character, Undertaker an awesome character. Obviously, they were nowhere near as big as Andre the Giant. But I think for modern wrestling fans, a lot of them, without knowing the story of Andre the Giant, just how big of a deal he was back in the day, and how beloved he was, and all that other sort of stuff, and it's tough to explain to a lot of modern wrestling fans, you know, myself included. I mean, I think he was, without a doubt, I mean, he is the Giant, as they say, but a lot of people simply know him as the guy that lost to Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 3, who got body slammed. And a lot of people say, you know, oh, Owen Hart and his legacy and stuff like that, and how the WWE don't preserve it and stuff like that because Martha Hart. I'm only bringing this up because I think in a weird way the WWE has not, they've told him that he's like the one true giant. The WWE has not really done enough, in my opinion, to show how big of a legacy Andre really had. And it's tough to explain, I guess, but I mean, he was the, you know, even he was the giant amongst giants, you know. King Kong Bundy, Big John Studd, all that sort of stuff, and he was, you know, he towered above them, and those were definitely not small dudes. But I don't know, I mean, with the Owen Hart stuff, I mean, I just brought that up because I say check out the network, and his work is always going to be preserved for that. You don't need him in video games or merchandise or, you know, talk about every 5 seconds about how great he was or whatever. There's, for, you know, younger fans to understand how good he could be, just tell him to watch his old matches and stuff like that, you know. I think he's somebody that the WWE doesn't need to endorse, but Andre the Giant, I kind of worry, is he that guy, you know? I mean, once again, we kind of been spoiled with some great giant wrestlers as well, like I mentioned, and I don't know, I mean, it's just, his legacy's undeniable, but I feel like the WWE could do a better job at, you know, showing us why he was so great. Randy Orton is number 15, and this is where I really start to disagree with the list. I mean, Randy Orton's a great wrestler, and I could believe he is one of the top wrestlers of all time in the WWE. But that said, like I said, I like larger-than-life personalities. He does not have one. He has a great look, great moves. He obviously, you know, he was extremely popular. You know, he created the whole meme, the Arcade O out of nowhere, where people started just assaulting each other. You know, school kids started assaulting each other and, you know, the middle of the hallways, doing the RKOs out of nowhere and stuff like that. And he's got the punt kick, and he said, I thought his character where he was like, you know, mentally unstable was pretty good, but they kind of stopped that very quickly, it seemed like. But that said, man, I mean, will you stop climbing the fucking ladder? But that said, oh man, to put him as like one of the greatest of all time, I don't know. And it's tough to say because my feelings on John Cena is I think a lot of people didn't realize how good or important he was until he left. Randy Orton hasn't really gotten that yet. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of the biggest thing for me is to really speak on a wrestler's legacy is to see just like when they go, how do people feel about it? How sad are the people to see him go? Uh-oh. 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 Ugh. Thank God. I'd be pissed if it was a CPU doing that to me, but hey. It's on the other end. It's all cool, guys. But yeah, I don't know. I'd put Batista over Randy Orton, honestly. Number 14, Edge. Okay. Once again, I think this one's tough. Because a lot of people also, their legacies, I kind of have to think of them in their most recent incarnations. And even though it's not their WWE stuff, and Edge had a great career, and it took him a while to get there. It really did. Once he made it as a rated R superstar, he was fantastic. I thought the weird sex stuff with Lita and all that sort of stuff was just kind of cringy, but like the live sex celebration, like really, but I think, you know, his matches and stuff like that was always fantastic. He looked like the biggest douchebag you would ever see, and that's an important part of the character. And he had a lot of great moments, you know. Money in the Bank. Stealing Mr. Kennedy's Money in the Bank pissed me off. You know, he was the ultimate opportunist. That's kind of what I like more about him than the rated R superstar, the ultimate opportunist aspect of his character. I thought in 2010 even, you know, his character was funny with the spear stuff and Let me think about that. The spear stuff and, you know, him beating up the stupid shit going on in the WWE. That was awesome. Like, beating up Jack Swagger's mascot, I thought was funny. I think he got really mad and he broke the laptop for the anonymous GM. The stuff he did with Vicky Guerrero. I mean, you can't get any slimier than that. That was some great stuff there with, you know, Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder was great. The Edge heads. Come on, please, 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 please. Whew. I'm gonna be honest. If he got me, he probably would have won. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough for me to say who's better, Edge or Mankind. It's kind of personal choice at that point for me, so I'll just say, you know, all right, good pick, you know. All right, Roddy Piper. Now Roddy Piper was he was at a time which I respected a lot. There was a lot of people in the 80s and early 90s because they only had the two singles titles and the one set of tag belts. That was it. It's a lot of people that didn't get world titles when you could say they could in the modern age easily. You know, Bulldog, Razor Ramon, Roddy Piper is definitely one of them. Mr. Perfect, Rick Rude, Jake the Snake. I mean, those are definitely all great guys. And Roddy Piper, I like myself some Roddy. I think one of my favorite lines is when he was going against the Mountie for the Intercontinental title before he won it. I think it was at the Royal Rumble in '92, and he just said something. I think the Mountie earlier in the night said he was going to attack Roddy Piper's integrity or something like that. And Roddy Piper just said, "You must be looking in the Atlantic Ocean or something like that, because you're looking for my integrity. You ain't gonna find it." Something stupid along those lines, and that was just a great line. And you know, he had his role in They Live, so I thought that was an awesome movie on that. So that makes me like him even more. And honestly, his feud with Hulk Hogan was pretty great too. I thought it was also funny that he just wanted with Jim Lee beat up Mr. T because of the, you know, the wrestling stuff at the time. And it seemed like he had some issues, but he also seemed like a legitimately good guy in a lot of senses too, you know. He stuck up for Owen Hart when the guy was making fun of him, you know, wrestling and all that sort of stuff. And man, I don't know, I could see him in this part. I mean, a lot of these top 10 guys around this time, you know, like on this list, I mean, it's tough because you can make arguments for like swapping them all around, in my opinion. But he did have some great matches. He was an actual wrestler during the 80s, which, you know, wasn't always known for that at the time. Number 12 is Kurt Angle. Now this is where another one where I take some serious issue. I think Kurt Angle deserves to be at least top 10, and that's an at least. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, you know, you can't complain about any of his promos. He was always funny, always entertaining, always serious when he needed to be, always willing to make a joke of himself. You know, Kenny Omega wasn't lying when he said that, you know, Kurt Angle was underrated and all this other stuff and was probably the best wrestler of all time. You know, I mean, what couldn't Kurt Angle do? That's my question to you. You know, it wouldn't matter, you know. He just fit his character perfectly. He was great from day one. He was great until, you know, his last run. I feel with the WWE, like somebody had something against him there from the sounds of it. Because it seemed like, you know, everybody always got to pick their last opponents and stuff like that. But it seemed like he said that it seemed like Triple H didn't want him there when he tried to get back in a few years earlier. And then when he did get back in, it was his last match, and it was like, he didn't even get to pick his opponent. It was Baron Corbin, and I mean, they were trying very hard for Baron Corbin, but I mean, look where he is now. He's not a main event guy. I haven't even heard people talk about Baron Corbin in the longest time, so that just goes to show how terrible of a decision that was. Number 11 is Macho Man Randy Savage. I feel like he should be top 10 as well. But we'll see who else is there. So when you think about it, like I said, this is WWE, not WCW. So, I mean, he was always a big deal. There was never a mid-card feud with Macho Man Randy Savage. One of the most iconic wrestlers of all time. I still love the Savage size Slim Jims. I'm actually hankering for one now that I'm thinking about it. And Hulk Hogan was the pop culture icon, but I think Macho Man could have been more marketable. I mean, the voice, the look, you know, whether he was, you know, the badass 90s version or the colorful 80s, you know, flamboyant version, Miss Liz. It's just unquestionable. I don't know. I gotta see who else is number 10 on this list. Number 10, Bruno Sammartino. This one's tough. I mean, I wasn't around at the peak of Bruno Sammartino, but he was beloved from everything you hear. He was champion for what, like 10 years? When he lost the belt, it was such a big deal, the entire stadium went silent. So he was definitely extremely beloved. Oh, Jesus Christ. But, it's a tough sell for modern wrestling fans, you know what I mean? He was big, he was, you know, I don't think he was larger than life, but he appealed to a lot of people. He got a lot of butts. He constantly got butts into the seats. And I respect him for being a top guy consistently at a time when the wrestling business was taken more seriously as a sports type thing. And, you know, you really had to get those people to love you, you know. I think the equivalent to him is a lot of luchadors in Mexico, you know, that were just pop culture icons and they were heroes, you know, in their home countries just in general. That said, I think he was also on top in New York during a time when, like, they didn't really tour, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So did he really have the all-around American appeal? I don't know. And if he did, and like I'm an idiot, and he went, you know, he was big outside in New York, and the WWE toured outside of New York. I don't think they did because it was like the territory and stuff. But let me know what you guys think about that one, because that one, I can understand it, and it makes sense due to his accolades, but it's also kind of like a lot of people to get to experience them because of the time period he came out with. Number 9, Bret the Hitman Hart. I'm a little mixed on this one, and I got nothing against Bret personally. I think him and his issues with Goldberg are actually pretty hilarious. It's always funny to me. As a wrestler, I think it's undeniable he's probably the best technical wrestler of all time. And I think, contrary to what a lot of people say, even before, you know, his heel runs in the Attitude Era in WCW, I think he had a big enough personality. Like, I think I compared it with Dean Malenko. I thought Dean Malenko had probably one of the worst personalities in WWE or wrestling history, him and Lance Storm. Great technical wrestlers, but no, as larger-than-life characters, I don't buy it. With Bret Hart, you know, I think the look portrayed a larger-than-life aspect to him. You know, his attire's iconic, pink and black, iconic. You know, his leather jackets, his glasses. There was a lot to like about him, and he had some pretty decent promos. I actually liked his promo when he won the world title against Ric Flair in '92 and stuff like that. I think it was, yeah, it was 92. But, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at the whole package here, and I don't think he was as good as some of the other guys on the list before. But that said, I mean, he took the wrestling business seriously. He obviously had a massive amount of fans. And I don't know, some of the stupid stuff he would say was just great, you know. His 97 stuff was unironically great as a heel. and they did very great character work. And I think a big part of that was they gave him something. You know, you can argue before that he wasn't the best as a character because they didn't give him anything to work with. He was supposed to be just a bland baby face. You know, at that time, you know, the smiling guy, kissing babies, all that sort of stuff.
Yes, but that's the case if you lose as well, and having to deal with emotional as well as
But I don't know.
is that much worse?
I don't know. People always put him at the top of their list, but I mean, me personally, as much as I thought he was great, but I don't know. I just don't feel like he's in that top 10 territory. I know that's blasphemous for a lot of people, but I don't know. I mean, he is a jam-up guy. I'll give him that at the very least. Number 8 is his rival, Shawn Michaels, and I think, as people say all the time, a performer, Shawn Michaels was the better guy, you know, entertaining-wise. Wrestler, Bret Hart was better. I actually like Shawn Michaels a lot more because I thought he had a big personality. He was a massive, egotistical asshole, and of course that came, you know, it was perfect for his character. Once again, I think that's kind of one of the characters, a good example of someone whose personality turned up to 100 or whatever. I think he also, alongside Bret Hart, has some of the most iconic attires in wrestling. You know, it's so simple. He's had the same design throughout like the majority of his career, but all he had to do, I think he was like one of the first wrestlers where all you had to, with just changing the color of your outfit, was just fantastic. You know, it was just so entertaining. It was just so great to see. Not entertaining, I should say, but he has so many aesthetically pleasing color options, and I think he did that at a time when most people didn't necessarily do that. Nowadays, a lot of wrestlers do it. It's mostly for merchandise, you know, so they can make more toys of this color variant, or, you know, so that way they can change the outfit in all the games and stuff like that. On top of that, though, I mean, I thought Shawn was an amazing wrestler as well. I mean, even well into the Ruthless Aggression era. That's when I really liked him most, because I liked the DX era stuff. I liked his return in 2002. You know, his feud with Triple H, of course. And I liked the era where it seemed like he was kind of the guy who was facing up-and-coming mid-card talent and trying to push them in the upper echelon. Never really worked. But hey, I mean, they were still entertaining matches at the very least. You know, with Chris Masters and Shelton Benjamin, stuff like that. I also just think, like, even when he changed from the long tights to like the baggy trunks or whatever, I thought that stuff was still pretty good, aesthetically pleasing attires. The most iconic theme song of anybody who ever sung their own song. I hated the Sherry version though, so annoying. A part of legendary tag teams. Shawn Michaels was the kind of guy where even if he didn't have anything going on, he was good enough to where you paid attention. So I definitely can see him on this list at that high of a number. Number 7, Triple H. I'm sure that pissed a lot of people off. I'm sure the funniest things I've heard is when Bret Hart gets upset that Triple H has a higher overall than him in some WWE games, and he's like, "Oh yeah, well, Triple H, you know, even on his best day, couldn't lace up my boots." And like, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna disagree with that, but it's just so funny what Bret Hart would get irritated about. But I've sung the praises of Triple H a lot. You know, I think he's underrated in a lot of sense, and I think he's never, even if he was, you know, Stone Cold level of popularities, people would never get over the fact that he married the boss's daughter, and they think that's all his success. That's the only reason. I agree wholeheartedly. I think he would not be where he is in the company today, owning the business, if it wasn't for that. But I think wrestler-wise, I think the Clique they've always shown that, like, Vince has a soft spot for the Clique. And I think he's always had, I think he genuinely, son-in-law or not, I think he genuinely likes Triple H as a human being, as a person, and all this other stuff. He vibes with him well, and I think that's a big part of how Vince will push you. I think he literally sees Triple H as one of the greatest of all time. So I definitely think that people over-exaggerate the whole reign of terror, the whole, oh, he married the boss's daughter. He definitely had a very, very, very fragile ego. He was definitely, from the sounds of it, an asshole and a politicker. But I also think he was a great wrestler. There's a reason, and it's not because they want jobs. There's a reason why so many wrestlers today are saying, like Cody Rhodes, MJF are saying that Triple H is their favorite wrestler. He was that damn good. Do I think he was number 7? The best Attitude Era heel. Longevity, of course. He had like over a decade of dominance. He's doing some great work with NXT, but I don't think that really counts for this list. And obviously, he's changed WWE and his storytelling and given it a fresh coat of paint in a lot of ways. But I don't know. I think that's a bit much. I think I would argue Shawn Michaels at the very least is better than Triple H, and I think a lot of people like to say he was the biggest heel in the Attitude Era. I've always looked at Mankind as more popular than Triple H during that time. When Mankind left, you can make the argument, obviously, that once Triple H came into his own. But 1999, Mankind, he was the third guy in the WWE, in my opinion. I also think Kurt Angle is better than Triple H, so Kurt Angle should definitely be ahead of him. Number 6 is The Undertaker. I have to see who else is on the list. I would consider Undertaker in my top 5 of all time, personally. Holy shit, I just won the submission. I just won the match with a submission A-type. Guys, did you see that? It's all coming full circle now, guys. It is all coming full circle. Couldn't do it with Cena. Couldn't do it with Carlito, but the Big Show against Andre the Giant, man, I'm the man. I'm redeeming myself here. Anyway, number 6, Undertaker. I feel like Undertaker should be like a top 5. I think when people talk about their Rushmore lists, I think Undertaker should probably be on there. So technically top 4, right? I mean, this dude was literally on top for like 30 years. I think the issue I have is, once again, it's recency bias. I feel like he tarnished his legacy a little bit because he was always looking for that last match. And I hate to sound like an asshole because, like, I hate when people say, things about, the armchair bookers and all this sorts of stuff and saying, all the wrestlers suck. Because, like, it's not like I could do any better than The Undertaker. But it felt like he went on a few years too long. And I kind of believe that if he didn't have the cinematic match, that out with AJ Styles, I don't think he would have. I think he'd be still looking for that one last match, to send him off and stuff. Really awesome. I seen his match against Roman Reigns and Cody, where he returned to the building. I think that should have been Stone Cold, who came back to defeat The Rock. I think it would have made more sense storyline-wise, but either way, you can't complain about The Undertaker being there. That was a cool moment. And he had so many incarnations. I mean, the biker, it was bad at first, like I said, but then it got good. Then he evolved into like a mix of the two when he came back as the Dead Man character. And around this time, 2004, I think it was, Survivor Series, around that time. But oh man. Yeah, I think he should just be higher. You can't deny the legacy of The Undertaker. If you do, I'm sorry, you don't know wrestling. Number 5, Roman Reigns. I feel like this list right here is a recency bias choice. I already explained my feelings on Roman Reigns earlier, so I won't repeat myself or whatever, but I don't know. Like, it's once again those things you have to see how people react when they're gone, in my opinion. I don't think Roman Reigns is even a top 10 guy. And I didn't watch him, so it's tough for me to say, but it just feels like it's too early to really put him on a list of this magnitude especially not the top 5 greatest of all time. This feels like something like WWE told him, like, hey, put Roman Reigns, you know, our top guy on this list early and stuff like that. I'm expecting to kind of see Cody Rhodes on this list now. I'm not gonna lie. Man, I can't really comment too much on it, especially when he had such a lackluster start. And he was on top for like a few years, but it's tough for me to really describe the legacy because I didn't watch him, so I don't know. You have to let me know down below in the comments what you guys think about that one. Number 4, John Cena. I used to hate on Cena. I was pretty vocal about that in some of my last videos. The original channel name for this, my Gmail account is literally for this channel, still WWE Cena hater for life. That said, you know, I made it when I was a little kid. I was an idiot, you know, and he's still not my favorite, but I have so much respect for Cena. And he really did carry the company at a time after its peak. You know, Brock Lesnar was supposed to be the next big thing, and they kind of bailed on him, and Cena became the next guy. I think they should have put an equal amount of stock into Batista, so that way you really had the 2 megastars on both brands. And I think that's their mistake on that end. Because I think Batista, I mean, you see him in Hollywood now. He has a mainstream appeal. They kind of blew it on it. They kind of went with one side, I think, because they probably thought it was easier. They didn't look at SmackDown maybe the same, I guess. But I don't know. I thought he was pretty entertaining as the Doctor of Thugonomics. I thought he was always great with promos, but his character kind of stunk, and I think that was the main issue. The white meat baby face, as they say. But he was always passionate. You could always hear the passion in his voice. I think he was a little cartoony at times. I thought he had some funny moments, though, too. Like, even with his goofy, cringy stuff. I thought it was pretty funny. Very colorful. And, you know, I think people undersell how good of a wrestler he was. Like I said, I like the storytelling and the in-ring stuff. A lot of people like to rag on him because he is a bit clumsy. And I don't know. Like, anytime he had a good match, it was somehow always because of who he was working with. And no, man, that's not always how... That's not how it works, right? You know, like, eventually you're going to have a bad match and this and that. And, you know, he had some stinkers every now and then, but... Nah, man, he knew how to do storytelling, and I think a lot of the people don't like that kind of wrestling. Fair enough, but don't just. It doesn't mean he's a bad wrestler just because you don't like what he does. I didn't like him because I didn't like his character back in the day. So I mean, you know, that's that. I mean, his Make-A-Wish Foundation stuff, he's still great. He seems like a pretty stand-up guy as well. I know there's been like 1 or 2 stories of him, you know, holding people back in the locker room or whatever, and that's enough for people to say it was a piece of shit or whatever. Each their own. I don't know. It seems like he was mostly a cool dude, but who's to really say? I mean, people like to think they know about who these people are in their real lives and the backstage lives and stuff like that. We don't know who these people are. We don't know what goes on backstage, obviously, because, you know, all that terrible stuff went on for so long, but I think people like to hear one story or two, and then it's like, oh, I know this guy, he's terrible, he's shit, or oh, I know this guy, he's great, he's you know, the most giving person of all time, you know what I mean? So I just take that stuff with a grain of salt, but I don't know if he's, I guess I can see him as top 5 worthy. Once again, I also think that he had the help of a lot of other top people. You know, a lot of people say he carried the company, and he did, but I think people also undersell when he first came in, for like, you know, at least half his run, the majority of it really, there were the Triple H's, the Undertakers, the Shawn Michaels, the Kurt Angles, the Batistas, the Mysterios. The Ruthless Aggression era had a lot of top tier talent. Booker T, another one, RVD, Edge. You know, so it wasn't just Cena. There was a lot of great talent at that time, and he was the guy, but it was also kind of a thing of the company wanted to be the guy. So, I mean, I think it really went downhill after he left for a little while. And you can't deny how good he was, but I think people also oversell his popularity because, I mean, he really was the first guy that I think really divided the audience in a major way. And that's important to take into note. Yes, was he extremely popular? Of course. But on the same note, there were so many people that disliked him. And I don't know if I entirely... In some respects, I agree. You know, a reaction that's bad is better than no reaction. I 100% agree. But when you're trying to be the top guy in the company, like, I feel like that's kind of... what is that term for it? It's... Oh, man, I can't think of the term. It's not cap. It's not clout. Yeah, I can't think of the correct internet term for this thing, but... But I think it's important to note that just because you get a reaction doesn't mean anything, you know. That's kind of the thing with Roman Reigns at first, you know. He had mixed reactions. I don't think that's good enough to be the top guy, at least in my opinion, you know. But I think that's always kind of the excuse that people use. Oh, well, the reaction was important. But yeah, I mean, look at guys like Stone Cold, The Rock, and stuff like that. You know, Hulk Hogan at his peak. You know, that matters. Getting the correct reaction is what matters, in my opinion. Number 3 is The Rock. I disagree. I mean, I agree is what I'm trying to say. Like, it made it sound like I said diss. No, I agree. I completely agree with this. I mean, like, he's just the most mainstream wrestler possibly of all time. I mean, maybe you can make the argument Hulk Hogan, but I think The Rock is different in the sense is he got bigger when he went to Hollywood instead of just being known for wrestling. And even now, I mean, people, they were pissed off when he tried to take Cody Rhodes' thunder when he came back for WrestleMania. That said, he did what he did best all the way back in the day. He read the audience. Seen it's not what they wanted. Turned heel. And, you know, they had an amazing feud. It was really The Rock versus Cody Rhodes, not Rock versus Roman Reigns. So, I think that was... he still has it. As a professional wrestler, he still knows how to manipulate people's emotions. And how to be a top star. That's undeniable. Although I thought that, like, $500 vest looking thing they wore was just kind of weird. And I mean, some of the best promo of all time, in my opinion. Funny as hell, but could be serious, especially when the time called for it in the ring. I mean, even people, once again, he knows how to entertain people. He knows the importance of storytelling over, you know, just doing moves. And he still had a lot of cool moves. Sharpshooter was yeah, questionable at best. But he was a good wrestler, and I think, you know, people, like, it seems like the top stars in wrestling, everybody had some sort of hatred for him, especially back in the day. Everybody was an asshole back in the day, you know? You had to be to get your spot, whether you're Triple H, The Rock, Stone Cold, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Ric Flair kind of sounds like an asshole as well. You know, so many people who were like the main stars. You have to be an asshole. I don't think, you know, politicking was just a thing back in the day. Is it good that you don't have to do that now? Sure, but at the end of the day, it's still management's decision to say, all right, this is who we're going to push. And that's what we've seen with Roman Reigns and so forth. And I'm sure it's kind of what, you know, a lot of people like Cody Rhodes, but obviously he's split amongst the fan base. So, I mean, it's obviously it's a choice for them to pick him in particular and go with it. Let's see here. Number 2, Hulk Hogan. All right, so I was... All right, yeah, so I'm surprised Cody Rhodes is seemingly not on this list. That is a big surprise to me, especially with Roman Reigns being on there. And Rikishi said them Island boys never got a fair shake. Yeah, my ass. My ass. Same people will say that there's not enough black champions, right? I remember back in the day, people said that The Rock didn't count because he was half Samoan, so he wasn't fully black, so it didn't count that he was WWE champion. They don't say that anymore. At least I don't hear anybody say it anymore, but that was a legitimate thing back in the day. And then obviously, Booker T and Mark Henry being world champions, oh, that doesn't count. Because that was the world heavyweight, not the WWE. Like, come on, man. Dude, cut me some cut me a break. Jesus Christ. And even before they said Triple H was racist, it was always that Vince was racist and how, things were better. Suddenly when Vince leaves and Bobby Lashley or whatever isn't on top anymore or whatever, and the Hurt Business is on top, suddenly it's, oh man, at least Vince wasn't racist. It's like, bullshit. You guys were saying he was racist all this time. Now you're just saying it's different. No, fuck that, man. And then they even tried to use the freaking Carlito thing I mentioned earlier about him calling some Japanese or like some Asian lady like, oh man, I gotta learn Chinese, because he's the point of the character is that he was like a dumbass, right? So it's actually making fun of Carlito, not the actual heritage of the the female wrestler. And they said, oh yeah, I thought you didn't see skin color. It's like, bullshit, man. It's not that big of a deal. It's comedy. Come on. As far as what was I even saying? Why did I bring this point up? Oh, it was The Rock in the WWE Championship. But anyway, yeah, they had the New Day and the Usos. Oh, jeez. Look at me, now I'm being the racist. The Usos are just Samoan. But the New Day was also a big team, and it seemed like Big E was destined for some big things. Unfortunately, he was hurt, with that neck injury. So it's pretty sad for that. But he was definitely going to be a big star. He even had guys who didn't make it quite to the main event scene, but Ahmed Johnson, Ron Simmons. I think they could have been looked at as main event talent at one point. Nation of Domination, Ron Simmons. D'Lo Brown was supposed to be the real breakout star of the Nation of Domination, but then they went with The Rock. So, I mean, people are just nuts. Like, that said, I mean, I'm not going to pay it any more credence. But we're going to move on with Hulk Hogan, number 2. I believe Hulk Hogan, if not number 1, he is number 2. Is he a jackass outside of the wrestling ring? Yes. He lies all the time. He's got weird tastes in women. He's done some stupid stuff with the freaking sex tape thing, and oh man, he's done a lot of crazy stuff. And obviously, what he said is not forgivable in my opinion. You don't say those kind of words. You don't use it lightly like that. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, I think it's funny when people make jokes about it and stuff like that. But no, in all seriousness, he's made it clear he's not the best guy. Seems like an alright guy, in public, but he's definitely had some issues, even with his family and stuff like that. That said, though, more so than Stone Cold, I think Hulk Hogan is pro wrestling, and I think that's undeniable. And people, people can deny and all this other stuff and say, no, this guy's bigger star. No. Hulk Hogan was on top for 2 decades straight, and I mean top. And you could argue politics, sure. I'm not going to deny that. I mean, he had fucking creative control in WCW. That said, he top star in the late 80s. Brought wrestling into the mainstream as a whole. Another one? The NWO when he came back. People like to say it was all Hall and Nash. I don't know, man. I think, as far as, coolness factor, of course it was those two. I mean, Hulk Hogan was like fucking 40. But as far as the legitimacy aspect of it, of course, Hulk Hogan was so important in that role. even with he came back in 2002 in WWE. People loved to see him. They missed him in the WWE. He even got one last good final run. I don't like the way he exited, where he beat Randy Orton and just said, "All right, see you later, brother," and never came back. But even when he came to TNA in 2010, it was still, he wasn't a good result either. But it was still a big deal. Nowadays, it's not really a big deal, and it's not because of the whole racism thing. It's because, well, I mean, he's old, and honestly, like, he's proven. Like, people see how he is now and how much of an asshole, and people have seen, I think people have just gotten tired of him overall, in general. He could not be the main star of a promotion anymore. At least a mainstream one anyway. But that said, this guy is pro wrestling in general. You could say it's all pro wrestling, it's all about the moves. No, it is not. It's about storytelling, and Hulk Hogan is probably the greatest storyteller in wrestling history. And he had so many iconic looks. I gotta give it to him. I don't know how this dude had just some of the most aesthetically pleasing colors to him. Not that really matters to like a wrestler too much. But I mean, the theme song was great. The red and yellow, the freaking American-made white and like periwinkle blue or whatever type of blue would be, the sky blue. The black and white with the NWO, man. I mean, that was fantastic attires there. He always had some good outfits. And he was also part of like the funniest, like the worst kind of storylines ever too. That were just awesome. Like so bad it was good type deal. Alright, that just backfired in a major way. But yeah, he is pro wrestling. And anybody who disagrees, you don't know pro wrestling. I'm sorry. You just don't. That's not up for debate. Personal feelings aside, what you think about wrestling aside, it's all objectively speaking, he is pro wrestling itself. Alright, and now on to number one. It's got to be Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I got to give him credit. I mean, the top three are literally the three people I would put every single time as the greatest wrestlers of all time. Stone Cold is not only a freaking, he's not the GOAT, he's a global icon and national treasure. He's a giant, the one and only giant in this industry. But I mean, he's had his controversies in the backstage as well, saying no to working with Mark Merrill and Jeff Jarrett. Ahmed tried to accuse him of being a racist and spray painting his car, but obviously everybody stuck up for him. They're like, no, that's not the case. But for some reason, there are still some morons that think they actually did do that, despite the fact that Ahmed's like a notorious liar himself. But man, I mean, like, he was the highest drawing wrestler of all time. And at the end of the day, that's what pro wrestling is. Making money. And he did it in such a short period of time. We kind of got, when you think about it, we got fucked over with Stone Cold. We didn't get enough of Stone Cold. And on one hand, after his injury in 1999, he wasn't the same, and it wasn't him. I think the company didn't look at him as the same, unfortunately. I'm assuming Vince McMahon seen the writing on the wall, and he tried to change up things pretty quickly. I think The Rock became popular, and people debate that The Rock was way more over than Stone Cold ever was. When The Rock hit his peak in 2000. The ratings didn't lie. The Rock was a part of the highest drawing segment, or highest watched segment of all time with the This Is Your Life. That said, not Stone Cold, like pop-wise in the WWE, whether he was saving The Rock or he was saving Mankind to win the world title. I mean, those are some of the wildest reactions ever. He had some great storylines around the time when Vince Russo was writing. Oh shit, I pressed the wrong button.
What a reversal.
And man, I mean, how could you deny it?
He's heading for the top of the cage.
You know, and I think, like I said, to continue on my point about how he was maybe not looked at the same by the company. I mean, once he came back in 2000, he should have been doing some great work. He should have just... Triple H should have been the guy who ran him over. If not, it should have been Chris Jericho to build him up. Even then, it's tough for me to see Chris Jericho as competing with him. He had so much hype and energy and stuff like that. I mean, it should have just been an immediate feud with Triple H in which Stone Cold kicked Triple H's ass for like months. And it could have built the both of them, you know, back and forth and stuff like that. And I think it seemed like, you know, with the Brock Lesnar stuff, that's another example of it. Of, you know, like them not... If it seemed like they forgot the value of Stone Cold at that time. How'd the table go like that? And, you know, I feel bad for him because he felt like his character was getting stale when the company was failing him by not booking him properly. He should have been booked as more of a legitimate... They should have been focusing on him in the storylines, you know. They focused on him so much, but I think they wanted to focus on Triple H a little bit more in those storylines. And I think it did affect Stone Cold's run at that time. And honestly, even when he turned heel, I mean, nobody wanted it, and it was Stone Cold's decision, and he kind of fucked the WWF when he did it, honestly. But that said, it was still entertaining as hell, because Stone Cold is just that entertaining of a guy. Even when, you know, he used to be known as a technical masterpiece. Some of his best matches, though, when he could only throw like 2 moves, and one of them, he had like 2 moves, the left hand and the right hand punch. And I mean, like, if that's what I mean, people are always about, oh, it's the moves. No, it's not, man. I don't think so. If that's your style of wrestling, great. But for me, it's storytelling, and Stone Cold's either him or Hulk Hogan are definitely the best storytellers of all time, man. So yeah, I agree a lot with this list. I think Mick Foley and Kurt Angle should have been higher, and I think maybe someone like Batista should have been on the list. Ric Flair, once again, you could argue with it.
You know what? This Cena, he spends a lot of time running his mouth, Cole.
I think you could maybe make an argument of
I saw some pretty nasty stuff on the ring earlier, Cole.
yeah, no. Now that I think about it, I would scratch that. I would say that for the most part, yeah, it's a pretty accurate list otherwise. But I don't know. I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts down below on what you guys think about this list. And I don't know. I would love to hear a Dave Meltzer, his list of like, you know, the top 20 WWE wrestlers of all time, and base it solely off the WWE careers and see what he would say about it. I think a lot of people would be interested to see that list if he hasn't already done something like that. It would definitely be controversial just because, I mean, it's Dave Meltzer, right? And a lot of people either love him or hate him. So, but I don't know. It's overall a pretty good list, I have to say. Hopefully you guys got some entertainment value out of that as well. As well as, you know, the list in this video in general, of course. Eddie Guerrero, I'm surprised that's someone who wasn't on this list either. He was always a very entertaining, pretty much in any storyline he was in, really, when he was given the chance. But, yeah, I mean, that's, I don't know. I don't really have too much to say, to be honest. I mean, we're nearing the end of the video here. I feel like that should have given me way more momentum. I didn't even know you could do that. Jeez. But, yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching this, though. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks again for joining me on this journey. This was the last episode of Smackdown Raw 2006 playthrough. I'm not sure what I'm going to play next, though. I'm not going to lie. I might even put, you know, like I said, my top 20 in the comments below. You do the same. But above all else, please remember to have a nice day.